Welcome to the Branded Impact Podcast. On this show, we go beyond surface level branding, honest conversations with industry leaders, behind the scenes of aligned brand building, and actionable insights to help you elevate your presence. I'm your host, Jocelyn Espejo, aka Joe. Hit subscribe and join me each week for the Branded Impact Podcast. You know that quiet whisper that says there has to be more than just getting through your days? Today's guest, Jennifer Blanes, founder of Planning Wellness, listened to that whisper and built an entire wellness brand around helping others do the same. In this episode, I'm excited to dive into wellness just enough to explore the heart of our work, but our main focus is branding and how personal brand clarity shapes the way you show up, attract clients, and create experiences that truly transform people. Jennifer, welcome to the Branded Impact Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Joe. Thank you so much for having me and giving me the other opportunity to talk about planning wellness and what we're all about.
Love it. So let's start with the moment that whisper became too loud to ignore. How did that help the turning point to help you shape the brand that you're building today?
Yeah. Coming from a hospitality hotel background and then shifting over into meeting planning through my own personal journey of just trying to be healthier and kind of escaping just sort of that corporate world and finding other outlets. Um, I discovered Pilates, and through that led me on this whole wellness journey of being able to share my passion for Pilates. And that kind of like started this domino effect of diving into that. And it was probably around 2019 where I decided to, what are ways like I can expand this and kind of be able to bridge my corporate hotel experience and also take that to do something in wellness, which was my growing passion. And I really just like, okay, this is the time. There's not going to be a better opportunity. Like I'm gonna, find ways to bridge these two together. And I ended up actually becoming a health and wellness coach and decided to get certified. And that was right at the start, right before COVID, actually. So it was sort of like a fortunate/unfortunate timing, but it was almost, like, okay, like, as you mentioned, that whisper, it was just sort of like, maybe this, this is the time. There's no better time. Like, let's just go for it and take this opportunity of being home and meetings canceling and, hotel contracts canceling. So through that, became a health and wellness coach and I wanted to have that piece so that I could then take that into forming Planning Wellness and starting this retreat business so that I had that background of the hotels and travel, but then had that health and wellness piece on top of the fitness piece that I could kind of mix together and create the brand.
I think 2020 pivoted so many people, right? Like, I think it was the opportunity. And for lack of better words, for me, I think it's that slowing down and kind of forced the hand as far as like, maybe now is the time. Maybe I do need to pivot and opening that eye-opening experience, for lack of better words. Background in luxury hospitality, I think, is such a unique asset for what you're building. I guess talk to me a little bit about what parts of your identity and that past experience helped shape the feel of your brand and how you want people to experience your planning wellness.
So I think, being able to work in high-end hotels and work with high-end luxury customers and clients, you would expect like, oh, it's, everything is expensive and they just have endless budgets and endless amounts of money and to throw at their meetings or their group stays and conventions. But through that, I kind of learned like everyone has a budget and everyone has a limit, even though, it's luxury designer brands and things like that and these big corporations. And so I had to be savvy with, helping deliver this high-end product and experience for their attendees. And but still work within their budget and meet those expectations. And so it took a lot of just research and digging around and finding creative ways to help them deliver the experience they were synonymous with their brands and things like that. But sometimes do it on a budget. So of course it's easy when they are, okay, yeah, we just need this experience and go find the best hotel in the best location or get the best, just doesn't matter what the contract is. But I think those are the easy ones, right? But the harder ones, when it was like that challenge of trying to, help them, like I said, deliver the experience, but then working with that budget really sort of was eye-opening to me and really kind of helped me expand my knowledge in that world. So it was really actually helpful to then be able to take that so that I can then, work with people now that most people are on a tight budget trying to develop or present their retreats to their attendees, but finding ways to help them do that, but give it a luxury feel on a smaller budget.
One, how are you translating that experience, knowing that you were very focused on helping people feel that their branding was getting through in the experience and their messaging? How have you translated that into building your own brand? Because now you're competing in a world that there's a lot of options out there, like many of us, right? There's very few of us that have a very unique skill set. But did your hospitality and all of that experience help you with your own branding? Is there something that you focus on more than others after this experience that you walked through?
Think like for the way I present Planning Wellness and myself is as a luxury brand. I kind of want it to have that luxury feel, the luxury customer service that you would expect from those 4 or 5 star hotels. Taking that, I feel like that's been able to translate into how I treat my clients and attendees to retreats. And yeah, and then just kind of the way that I present the brand and present our retreats, even if it isn't, we could be going to or people could be going to a 3 star, type of wellness center, wellness retreat place, or it could be in an Airbnb or something like that. But being able to help them market it in a way that it just has this like high touch, personalized luxury feel, I think is just what I like to bring to the table.
So I have two questions on this. I'm going to try to remember them. One of them is that how do you actually translate that into, so when we say luxury and we say high touch and we say like we want to make sure that that's experienced in your marketing, what does that actually directly relate to? Like, so when you want it to feel luxury, what are some of the things that you're ensuring are happening?
So, not making sure that all of the details are paid, like you pay attention to all the details, right? So it's from the location and thinking about, travel time for your attendees and how difficult is that going to be, to making it feel personal and thinking about, the actual experience, how it's going to look and smell and feel when they walk into the retreat location. Just very, very customized, I guess, to the person. And so you don't have to spend a lot of money to make someone feel special and make them feel like you've paid attention and try to create that experience. So it's just kind of more about all of the, engaging all of the senses and, taking it from just all the little details that you may not think of that just really, I feel like, set us apart and can set the retreat leader apart, could set our retreats apart, whichever end of the experience that you're on.
I have to point out here something that this is something that I've been trying to get out of people for so long, and that branding is so much more than just the visuals. And everything that Jennifer is talking about right now when it comes to branding has been the experience. Everything that ties into making it a luxury brand is all tied into how they're feeling as they're walking through. And she's nailed it. This is how people talk about you when you're not in the room. It's how you made them feel. And so you've taken your experience working for high end luxury brands and you've pulled out the pieces. And not once did you mention the logo. Like, you didn't say, like, oh, I had to have a logo that looked like this high end 5 star hotel. You're talking about when my client walks through the experience, are they taken care of? Are we making them feel special? Are we identifying opportunities to hit all 5 senses? So your luxury retreats, I'm like, gosh, I would have never thought about the fact, at least in planning mine, I'm like, does it smell a certain way? I know I look at the aesthetics and I do think about things like, is the parking easy? How hard is it to get to? Because I know from my personal experience, when I've gone to something and it's a pain in the butt to get to, I'm really unhappy. Like, it makes it
It makes a difference.
really difficult. So I think that's awesome that you're building this brand around the experience. Everything for you in building your luxury brand. Now, I bet if I follow and we dove in, you have a logo, you have colors, you have fonts that you're using. There's a certain aesthetic, but all of it to you is centered around the experience. How is your client feeling from start to finish? Are they taken care of? And that also translates into how you're helping them take care of their clients through the experience.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Um, and a lot of people that maybe have our first time retreat leaders, I think it's helping them bring that to the actual event, because they're really good at, whether it's a fitness instructor or wellness coach or it's whatever type of person is hosting. It could be a company. I help them, behind the scenes they're there to execute this, right? So, but they're not the retreat planner and they don't know all the ins and outs. And so it's sort of like walking them through step by step so that when they're actually, in front of their attendees and they're, giving them this experience, that they just look like they've been doing this for years and it's seamless and they don't have to worry about, thinking and creating those things. They just kind of have to like show up and do their thing and execute it. And it just makes them look so good.
You came from a world where you were working for a luxury hospitality company. Now, what were some of the first things that you did to get the name out there that your brand existed? So you pivoted. And I know you kind of toyed with some different things because you did Pilates and you did health and wellness coach certification. And then now I've got this wellness planning retreat. So for people that want to plan retreats, now, what were some of the first things that you did? And then what do you continue to do now to really get your name out there as a brand?
Well, just number one, I did brand a logo and tried to get, colors and aesthetics done and have a professional website done with professional copy because I feel like that's just so important in the first step, in my opinion. And I've tried to stay consistent with that. Whatever, next step was on social media. It's the necessary evil to all the things, right? So it was trying to create a presence in social media and just keep that consistent with the brand. Um, then I think most importantly, and this is something that um, I didn't have right away in the beginning and is always constantly evolving and growing, but just finding ways to connect with people to grow my email list and network has been like the key aspect for planning wellness to grow. And so finding ways to get people to engage with myself, on top of just the, regular marketing and like SEO stuff. I do blogs and just try to get as much traffic to the website as possible for people to subscribe and participate and just find out about the business because it's also kind of a unique service that we offer. So yeah, just trying to find ways. And so most recently, I am trying to do things within my own community and more events locally to then try to like have a presence locally. To help the business grow here as well. So just as many people as possible that you can get to your site and subscribing and, keeping newsletters going and ways to stay in front of a potential customer and build that trust and loyalty.
It's so important. I feel like that email list piece is something that we come to so late. And I'm encouraging people to do that on the front end. And so social media seems to take the winning forefront so much out after like the logo and the website. Those are always the common steps I hear. Like, I'm going to get a logo and I have a website. And then I know I have to get on socials. And I'm like, yes, but socials, guys, is going to be a long game. And you do. And I love that you described it as a necessary evil because I say the same thing. It's to me one of those things that in order to be a professional company nowadays, you do have to have a professional site, but it is a long game and you want it to have consistency. And I tell people use it almost like a credibility and ability check where if they hear about you and they decide to go to your website, a lot of times what they'll do is check socials first just to see if you even exist. And then you can eventually get a campaign going as far as increasing awareness and getting more people to be driven to your website and things like that. But organically, if you don't have a budget, it's difficult to do that in the beginning to really get a big following. The email list piece, though, goodness, if you got a client, get them on an email list. If you are networking, get them to get on an email list. And then I think you and I are in a similar place. I spent a lot of time going bigger. And now I'm like, cool, there's a lot of business right here in my own backyard. So I'm going to start focusing on what I can do there. But one of my biggest strategies is getting in the right rooms. Yes, I have a social media presence. Yes, I have a website and I do the SEO and the blogging and all these pieces. But if I were to tell you what has been the biggest game changer of my business and move the needle the fastest, it's the networking and being intentional about getting in the right rooms so that I can literally face to face meet people that can help with introductions. And then that's the fastest trajectory for my growth and scaling.
I couldn't agree with you more. You're so correct. And it's sometimes I feel like it's the part that, we're the scaredest to do. It's scary to go, into a room with people you don't know and talk about your business and promote yourself. But I think that's just in my experience so far, and even for myself, that's the key piece that some of the people are missing. Just, starting, like you said, with that email list first and the networking piece and the word of mouth. And it's amazing how once you do that, your business can grow organically, and really start to take off, and just opportunities open up because you put yourself in that room. Um, yeah, I wish that all business owners would start with that first, like you said. So it's great that you're putting that message out there and sharing it with everyone.
Yes.
Yeah,
And especially I'm in a branding place, and so I tell people, I'm like, branding is the foundation. So while you're out there working and things like that, you wanna be able to send them back to something that they can learn very quickly who you are and what you're about. So I'm not saying that that's not important, but I do think I was having a conversation earlier with a client of mine, and I told her, I said, if you had to choose between creating content on social media and or getting into the right rooms, I would tell you focus on getting in the right rooms. Post on social media on some consistent basis that you can maintain. So this happens to be a client that doesn't post at all consistently. And so then I said, start with twice a week. Okay, it doesn't have to be 7 days a week. You don't have to go gangbusters. What can you do consistently? But you want to have a presence so that when you're out there networking and you're like, hey, follow me on Instagram or follow me on Facebook or, go to my website and then check out all these platforms. When they look, the last time you posted wasn't 6 months ago or a year ago. They want to see some sort of like fresh, consistent rhythm of content just to believe that you're a credible business. They're also not gonna go through and count and be like, "Oh, I believe that your business is up here because you posted 5 times a week, and you're down here because you only posted twice." No one's counting unless you're in social media, some type of management, and then they're probably trying to
sure.
pitch you a service, right? But otherwise, most normal people aren't looking to see how often you posted, they just wanna see that there was some sort of consistency and good vibes, but, like, most of us, the secret weapon and the biggest differentiator between us and any other service is ourselves. And the fastest way for us to be able to share who we are and what we're about is to get in the room. And for those of us that are introverts, I like to say I'm an introverted extrovert.
Same.
I can turn it on when I'm in a room, but I better have the rest of my day cleared because if I happen to walk into a room where I know nobody, that takes a lot of energy and a lot of strength to actually show up. My recommendation for walking into a room where you're like, I know nobody, is to walk in with intention and literally just pick the first person that you can walk up to and go introduce yourself. And then just take it one at a time. Instead of it being an entire sea room of people, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to walk up to the first person that I see standing alone because that to me was always easier than interrupting a
Right.
conversation.
Yes.
Right? Like, look for that other introverted person that happens to be standing in the room, and then you can maybe tag team together and be like, "All right, maybe we can go find somebody else." So, what are your recommendations? Because you sound like you're the similar boat. It's a hardship. What are some of the things that you've done to make networking in a room that you don't know people easier?
I always psych myself up before because, yes, it is not my favorite thing, as I mentioned. And so before I get out of the car or walk into the conference room or wherever it may be or the restaurant, I just tell myself, you love this. I love this. I love this. You got this. Like, I just, kind of do that. And I do that with a couple other things as well. But, so I automatically set that mindset of like, instead of, oh, I really don't want to do this. Oh, this is so not, I psych myself up. So and then when I walk in, yeah, similar, try to find maybe that person that's not speaking with anybody. I think it's, yeah, awkward and kind of creepy sometimes if you just like have people in a group and you kind of like walk up and awkwardly just stand there and sort of look. They're like, okay, who's that? But yeah, find that person. And then I think that, introduce yourself and kind of have that quick elevator pitch. But the best thing that I've learned that you can do, and I know this is just a very valuable sales tool. And whether it's in business or just personally, is to listen, and ask questions and really just listen and not feel like you have to sell yourself in that moment and win business right there in that moment or the relationship. So just ask questions and listen and probably talk as little as possible, honestly, in that moment.
The elevator pitch is so key. You wanna be able to introduce yourself in a quick, like, I like to say, have a tagline, something that you can just spit out that very quickly identifies who you are and what you do and who you serve, especially in a networking room. And then opening up that conversation, but you were so right, it's the listening. If you can get someone to talk about themselves and what they do, at the end of the conversation, they're gonna feel like they had the best conversation ever when you had them talking
Yeah.
the majority of the time. And then another piece that I wanna add on to this that has been a game changer for my networking is that I try to finish up every conversation when I'm in a networking setting with what is the number one thing I can do to help you right now? Is there a connection that I can make? Or what's the one thing that you are looking for that I can help you? I'm not trying to sell you right now. I really do intentionally and genuinely want to help. So is there something that I can do? And that opens up this door of like, that was amazing. It was a great conversation because I do listen a lot and ask a lot of questions and I get them talking. So at the end of it, they feel like they know a lot. I do try to energetically, though, take the time to insert what I do and how I can serve because I don't want to miss the opportunity to let people know why I do what I do. You don't have to talk about yourself for forever, but don't not take the opportunity to say, like, oh, by the way,
Right.
I,
That's true. Yes.
this is what I do. But then that last tip, like when I finish my conversations before I part ways with, is there a way that I can serve you right now or I can help you right now? It literally like makes me stick out in people's minds. And I am genuinely a connector. So that piece makes it easier for me because I do want to help. And if I can make that connection, it's one more touch point. It's an opportunity to genuinely help move their business forward. And then it also makes it easier because I love how you talked about how you hype yourself up walking in, like, I love this, I love this, I love this. For me, I had to switch it and I'm not looking for sales. I'm not looking for that. I'm genuinely looking to make a connection and see what I can do to help somebody because I do believe that it's a giver's gain mindset. The more that I can help, the more that I can help other people, connect people, it does come full circle. So that's been another piece that's helped. I try to shift my mindset that I'm not walking in looking for a sale. I'm walking in looking for the right connections. And then ultimately, how can I give? And then eventually it'll come back. So hopefully that helps if you're listening and you're like, oh, yeah, that's a me too. Like, I don't love walking into those rooms, but you have to. And then take the approach that seems to be the easiest for you. Or if you're someone that can't walk into a room alone, find a buddy and then tag team and walk into rooms together. That also helps sometimes when you're walking in with somebody instead of alone, because that's a challenge to get over. Okay, so let's talk about retreats for a moment,
Okay.
because I think this is definitely your specialty. And this is a button that I feel like in the rooms that I'm in right now, retreats are on the list for a lot of people that I know that they want to do a retreat, plan a retreat, that kind of thing. So if there's somebody that's listening or dreamed about hosting one day, talk to me a little bit about like, do they have to have some branding pieces in place first? What's the first thing that you recommend as far as should there be a level in their business already or not? Like, what do you think about that?
Okay. So, from an organization or a business perspective, that's kind of easy. Though, the people that you already have your employees or people that you want to bring and include in this. That's just sort of like, do I have the budget, and is this going to be worth it to take time away from my employees and from the business and the day to day? But that is such a huge thing that I'm seeing coming up in organizations, of just taking that time out for wellness, and in kind of like more, instead of just like, oh, an incentive like of the people that did well. No, like really take your teams and people and just like the gains that you will have from just motivation and helping with burnout and things like that. That's like a huge thing. And so hopefully more and more companies and organizations are putting that into their budget and mindset for just wellness long term for employees. The other side of it for just a regular person or smaller business, or just someone that does a lot of people like, there's their yoga instructor, their health coach, or on the side. So it's a lot of side businesses that do that. And I encourage you, and the thing is, yes, I think it is going to be more beneficial if you have set base of people that you already think might be interested in attending your retreat. That does make it a lot easier, just like we talked about, having that email list or that marketing list or that network of people that you can already start with having the interest, because gaining the trust of just a lot of strangers, and I've learned this the hard way as well, of just like, oh, I'm going to put my retreat out there and I'm going to put it on these sites, and people are just going to spend thousands of dollars then to just trust this stranger. I think that having that foundation does help, but it is possible, even if your group is small. You don't have to have thousands of people on your email list or in your network to be successful at having a retreat, as well as you don't have to have a huge budget necessarily to do it. There are many creative ways that you can kind of come up with, but I think it's just a really valuable tool and piece that you could add to expand your business or expand your part-time job as this offering, because there's just so many valuable things that can come out of it. And just to not be intimidated that there's help, and that you could make it work even if you don't have the knowledge.
So, is there a minimum, like when people are thinking about retreats, number of days? What are some of the first few things that they should consider outside of, okay, you should have some sort of established business, some sort of established following. So do you recommend starting with almost like engaging an interest? Would they be interested? Or is it just you already have people that you know have been with you for a while and then you can start to throw out that there's a retreat option available?
I've experienced both, but I think the retreats that have been most successful gauge interest first a little bit and kind of get some feedback from some of the attendees and people. What type of experience are you looking for? What areas? What are you looking for? Fitness or just more, relaxation, any type of healing or, there's so many different genres of retreats that you could create. But yeah, gaining interest, I think those are the ones that are most successful. I think the ones that are that struggle tend to be they don't have a solid foundation, kind of don't have a real voice or theme of the retreat, and are just sort of kind of blindly getting into it, just thinking, oh, retreats are great and people will sign up.
So it sounds good. You definitely don't want it to be like it's like trend. Now it sounds great. And then now I don't know if I want to, or I should try it. So I think that's great. So then what are some of the things too, like if I'm thinking about a retreat, what would be your number, I guess, top three considerations? So I guess the first one is, do I have a following? Do I even think that someone would be interested? But then now am I looking at, because these are the conversations I'm hearing, and I don't know if we're having the right conversations first. Like, do we start thinking about location? Or does that really determine based on the type of retreat that we're wanting to do? So we have to know first, are we doing a relaxation? Are we doing something first? But then I've often thought about the type of retreat I want to host, location, like ease of access. Is that a good place to start as far as like thinking about where they should do one? And I guess what are the top three things that they should be considering?
Yeah, your network and how you're going to market it. That's number one. Number two, then yes, location, ease of access is so important. That will help you determine the amount of days that you're available to offer for the experience. Because if you're traveling, for a solid day and you're connecting all the flights, I mean, that right there could take away 2 full days, there and back. So then if people are trying to, have a short weekend away from their family or away from their job, that all of a sudden turned into a 5-day retreat kind of thing. And that's, depending on who your client base is, that's probably too long. And so, yeah, thinking about things like that, or maybe it's not. I mean, I'm not saying all retreats have to be 3 or 4 days, but definitely take that into consideration. And then once you kind of figure that out, I think just the budget, and making sure you have to do the budget on the front end, come up with the pricing and kind of what you think, what you're wanting to make and profit, and start with that. If it is something, so if it's a corporate thing and you're not making a profit, okay, like what is the experience? But if it's your personal person, your brand, and you're doing this for business purposes as well as to share your gifts and talents and services, what do I want to make? And go from there of then finding the location and the type of experience that you can with the budget that you think your attendees could potentially pay.
So if anyone has been listening and they are like, Jennifer, I would love to know more.
So a travel agent, so I bring that experience with me. I think my diverse background from being understanding the hotel side, or just the venue location. So I can source anywhere in the world, relationships. There are some that are stronger than others, but I have, all of the resources available and just the knowledge of hotel budgets and operations or, those types of things that I can help bring into your pricing and seasonality. What sets me different from than just a travel agent is the health and wellness coaching and all of the time and energy that I spend in the wellness world, researching and constantly learning, being able to bring that into creating like a whole experience. So it's so much more than the logistics, as we've talked about, right? So I've got the logistics side and revenue management, and then that whole other aspect of health and wellness and the passion for that, I feel like really sets that apart. And so that can translate into my retreats, my events and experiences, but definitely can bring that component to help you or person, execute their retreat experience. And just
So when is the best time to reach out? Like, should they already have some of this figured out, or are you okay having a conversation if we're even just thinking about doing retreat and looking?
absolutely anytime. So there's no wrong time. I help people like completely conceptualize, or people come to me and they've already got a lot of the ideas planned. They know where they want to go. They know, their budget. I help them fine tune. I execute. I mean, anytime from, pre-planning all the way to just like, I already know what I want. I need you to just do it. Let's go.
Bring it to life.
Bring it to life.
That's amazing. So if they've been listening, Jennifer, where can they find you?
So you can find me at my website, planningwellness.com. I'm on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Pinterest, you name it, Facebook. On my website, I also have like free intro planning sessions. So if you want to have just a quick call to kind of chat and see what it's like and talk a little bit about your ideas and experience and talk about the services and like what the process will be like, you can find those links on my website. You can email me, DM.
Love it. So she's accessible on all the things,
Yes.
guys, and we'll add links into the show notes as well. All right, Jennifer, I want to leave them with one last thing about building a brand that helps them thrive. What would be the number one thing that you'd recommend so that they can thrive, not just survive? What is it that you would think it would be?
That you don't need to know it all or do it all. You just have to start. Support is there. You'll figure it out. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I think, for me, I felt like, oh, I have to have this done and do this and that. And it's just like, no, just go for it and figure it out as you go.
So powerful. And I think you looped up somebody of mine in the first one. So just do it and then figure it out as you go. And don't be afraid to ask for help because there is so much out there. And I think this is one of those things, at least for me, I know retreats is on my future planning. And so Jennifer sounds like an amazing resource to be able to help you with all the things that you have already thought about and also everything that you have not thought about yet, because it sounds like there's so much involved. Jennifer, I really appreciate all of your time in this conversation. And for anyone that has been listening and you're feeling that whisper, whether it's launching a retreat, elevating your wellness brand, or stepping into your next level, make sure you reach out. And if you're ready to elevate your brand so that reflects the leader that you've become, make sure you follow me, Explore Branding by Jo. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, continue to be out there and explore branded impact. That's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Branded Impact Podcast. If today's episode sparked something in you, please take a second to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who's ready to unlock their rebrand era. And if you're ready for a brand that's rooted in authenticity and built for impact, one that truly reflects your story, your energy, and your evolution, let's connect. Head to brandingbyjo.com or DM me on Instagram at brandingbyjo. Thanks for hanging out. Now get out there, show up with purpose, and make your branded impact. I'll see you next week.